Millionaire mother hired a nanny to care for her sick daughter while she worked late hours. When she watched the hidden camera footage, she collapsed at what the nanny was doing. Victoria Reynolds stood frozen in the hospital corridor, her surgeon's mask still on, as two different lives hung in the balance. Through the operating room window behind her, a 5-year-old boy lay on the table, his chest still open, waiting for her to complete his heart transplant. Through her phone screen, she watched her own daughter Sophie collapse at school, the security footage showing the 8-year-old's body crumpling like a paper doll. "Dr. Reynolds, we're losing him," a nurse called from the operating room. Sophie's teacher was performing CPR on the video feed. Victoria Reynolds, chief of surgery and CEO of Chicago's largest private hospital, had exactly 10 seconds to make an impossible choice. "Page Dr. Morris," she commanded, already running toward the elevator. "Tell him to take over." The same elevator that had carried her up to the top of the medical world now seemed painfully slow as it descended. Victoria touched the pearl necklace she always wore, a reminder of how far she'd come from the scared immigrant girl who'd arrived in Chicago with nothing but a scholarship and a dream. When she reached Sophie's private school, the ambulance was already there. Her daughter's fragile body was being loaded inside, her dark curls, so like her late father's, spilling over the stretcher. "Pulse is weak but stable," the paramedic reported. Her pacemaker malfunctioned. Victoria climbed into the ambulance, her surgical scrubs still on. As they raced toward her own hospital, she held Sophie's small hand, feeling the irregular flutter of her pulse. A pulse that shouldn't exist at all, according to every medical textbook. Sophie Reynolds was a miracle and a mystery. "Mommy," Sophie whispered, her green eyes fluttering open. "I saw Daddy today." Victoria's heart clenched. Thomas had been dead for 6 months, but Sophie still spoke of seeing him. The doctors called it a side effect of her condition, hallucinations caused by irregular blood flow to the brain. But sometimes in the darkest hours of the night, Victoria wondered. Back at the hospital, the news got worse. Sophie's latest tests showed her condition deteriorating rapidly. The experimental treatments weren't working anymore. And then came the final blow. Maria, Sophie's nanny, was caught stealing her medication to sell on the black market. "You need to install security cameras," Marcus Walker, her head of security, insisted later that evening. He'd been Thomas's best friend before becoming the hospital's chief of security, and his concern for Sophie was genuine. "We can't risk another incident." Victoria stared out her office window at the Chicago skyline. The same view she'd dreamed of as a young medical student was now a reminder of everything she had to lose. Behind her, Sophie's medical file lay open on the desk, each page documenting a battle against impossible odds. "Do it," she finally said. "Install the cameras. Every room, every angle. I want to see everything." What she didn't say was that she'd already lost her husband. She wouldn't lose her daughter, too. Not to illness, not to theft, not to anything or anyone. That night, as Sophie slept in her hospital room, Victoria watched her through the newly installed security feed. The steady beep of the heart monitor was a reminder that every day was borrowed time. The medical board had given her an ultimatum that morning: either step back from her duties as chief of surgery to care for Sophie, or hire qualified live-in help. "I'll find someone," she promised her sleeping daughter. "Someone perfect. Someone we can trust." But as Victoria Reynolds well knew, perfection often hid the darkest secrets. And trust was a luxury she could no longer afford. Her phone buzzed with Sophie's latest test results. When she opened the file, her blood ran cold. The numbers were impossible. According to every medical indicator, Sophie shouldn't be alive at all. The mystery of her daughter's condition was deepening, and for the first time in her career, Victoria Reynolds, the doctor who had never lost a patient, was afraid she might lose the one battle that mattered most. What she didn't know was that the security cameras she'd just installed would soon reveal secrets far more dangerous than stolen medication. Secrets that would shake her perfectly controlled world to its very foundation. Victoria sat in her office reviewing applications for Sophie's new caregiver. 20 candidates, all with impressive credentials, yet something felt off about each one. She'd interviewed 5 already today, and none had the right combination of medical knowledge and genuine care she needed. Last one for today, Marcus announced, showing in a young woman. Hannah Mitchell walked in with quiet confidence. Her resume listed specialized training in pediatric care and critical cardiac conditions. But it was her eyes that made Victoria pause. They were identical to Thomas's. "Tell me why you're interested in this position," Victoria said, pushing aside the unsettling resemblance. "I believe every child deserves a chance to live fully, despite their medical limitations," Hannah replied. "I've worked with children like Sophie before. I know the challenges, and I know how to help them thrive, not just survive." Victoria leaned forward. "Sophie's condition is unique. We've never found another case like hers." "I know. I've studied her case file." "That's confidential information. How did you access it?" Hannah didn't flinch. "Through Dr. Thompson at Boston Children's Hospital. He was my reference and shared it when I expressed interest in the position." Marcus stepped forward, his security training evident. "We'll need to verify that." "Of course." Hannah smiled. "You'll also find I have advanced cardiac care certification and experience with experimental treatments." Victoria studied the young woman. Something about her seemed too perfect, too prepared. Yet her references were impeccable. Harvard Medical School research assistant, pediatric care specialist, published papers on genetic cardiac conditions. "When can you start?" Victoria heard herself asking. "Tomorrow," Hannah replied. That evening, Marcus voiced his concerns while installing the final security cameras in Sophie's wing of the mansion. Her references seem artificial, too polished, and Dr. Thompson's office is closed for verification. "Keep digging," Victoria instructed. "Meanwhile, we'll have eyes on her 24/7. Sophie's reaction to Hannah was immediate and unexpected. The usually shy girl lit up when Hannah entered her room the next morning. "You have kind eyes," Sophie declared. "Like my daddy's." Victoria watched through the security feed as Hannah began her first day. The young woman moved with practiced ease, checking Sophie's vitals, organizing medications, and somehow turning breathing exercises into a game that had Sophie laughing. By evening, Sophie's numbers showed improvement. "Look, Mom," she exclaimed during dinner. "I ate everything, and I'm not tired." That night, Victoria sat in her monitoring room, watching the feeds. Hannah moved efficiently through her evening routine, her medical knowledge evident in every action. Almost too evident. "Running background checks," Marcus reported. Something's not adding up with her employment history. Victoria was about to respond when movement on one of the screens caught her eye. Hannah was in Sophie's room, well after bedtime. She was holding something that glinted in the dim light. A syringe. Victoria's heart stopped as she watched Hannah approach her sleeping daughter. The security feed showed Hannah carefully rolling up Sophie's sleeve, preparing for an injection. But before Victoria could sound the alarm, her phone buzzed. Sophie's latest test results. Her numbers were better than they'd been in months. Victoria stared at the screens, torn between maternal panic and medical curiosity. What exactly had Hannah done? And more importantly, how did she know to do it? "There's something else," Marcus said quietly. "I found a connection between Hannah and Boston. Not just the hospital, she has a history there. A history that might connect to Thomas." Victoria watched Hannah tenderly tuck Sophie in, checking her vitals one last time. The young woman's movements were precise, practiced, almost familiar, too familiar. "What kind of connection?" Victoria asked, not taking her eyes off the screen. But deep down, she already knew. Those eyes, that medical knowledge, the way Sophie responded to her. The question wasn't what Hannah's connection to Thomas was. The question was, what was she really doing here? Victoria burst into Sophie's room, flipping on the lights. Hannah stood calmly by the bed, the syringe still in her hand. "Step away from my daughter." Victoria's voice was ice. "Dr. Reynolds, I can explain," Hannah said, not moving. "Security," Victoria called out. Marcus appeared instantly. "Drop the syringe." "It's just a blood draw," Hannah explained, placing the syringe carefully on the medical tray. "I'm running specialized tests." "Without authorization?" Victoria advanced. "In the middle of the night?" "The tests need to be done at specific intervals. I was going to show you the results in the morning." Hannah pulled out a folder. "Look." Victoria snatched the folder. Inside were blood analysis reports showing remarkable cellular regeneration patterns. Impossible patterns. "This can't be right," Victoria muttered, medical training kicking in. These markers are exactly what we've been looking for, Hannah finished. Sophie's condition is improving because her body is actually healing itself. Before Victoria could respond, Sophie stirred. Mom, what's happening? Nothing, sweetheart. Go back to sleep. But Sophie was already sitting up, eyes bright. Did Hannah give me the special medicine? Victoria froze. What special medicine? The one that makes me feel better, like the ones Daddy used to give me. The room went silent. Thomas had never given Sophie experimental treatments, at least not that Victoria knew of. Mrs. Peterson, Sophie suddenly called out, waving at the doorway. The previous nanny stood there, face tight with anger. I came to collect my things, Mrs. Peterson said. And to warn you, Dr. Reynolds, check her credentials again. She's not who she claims to be. Marcus stepped forward. Ma'am, you need to leave. Fine, but don't say I didn't warn you. She pointed at Hannah. I saw you in his office, the one that's supposed to be locked. Victoria's head snapped toward Hannah. You were in Thomas's office? I needed to verify something, Hannah admitted, about the treatment protocol. That room is off limits. Everything was left exactly as it was when Victoria stopped, throat tight. When he died? Hannah's voice was soft. Dr. Reynolds, there are things you need to know about Thomas's work. Just then Victoria's phone rang, the hospital board. Her hands shook as she answered. Dr. Reynolds, we need you here immediately. There's been a development with the pediatric cardiac unit. Victoria looked at her daughter, at Hannah, at the mysterious blood samples. I'll be right there. At the hospital, more surprises waited. Key research documents had vanished from the secure server. Documents about experimental cardiac treatments. The same files Thomas was working on, her assistant explained. Victoria's head spun. She needed to focus, needed to think. But then another bomb dropped. Dr. Reynolds? The hospital's medical director approached. The board feels that given recent events, perhaps you should take a leave of absence. What recent events? Your daughter's condition, the missing files, the unusual blood work being conducted without authorization. Victoria steadied herself against the wall. Who told you about the blood work? Anonymous tip. Plus, there's something else. He handed her an envelope. You might want to sit down. Inside was a pregnancy test result. Positive. Her pregnancy test result. Victoria's world tilted. Pregnant? At her age? With everything else going on? Her phone buzzed with a security alert from home. Hannah was in Thomas's office again. On the camera feed, Victoria watched her opening drawers, searching through files. But what made Victoria's blood run cold was what Hannah pulled out next. A small vial of golden liquid, identical to the one Thomas had been holding in their last photo together. And suddenly Victoria remembered his final words. If anything happens to me, look for the angel. She'll know what to do. At the time, Victoria thought the medication was making him delirious. Now she wasn't so sure. Her phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. Your daughter isn't sick. She's evolving, just like Thomas planned. Victoria stared at the message, then at Hannah on the security feed, then at her own pregnancy test results. Nothing made sense anymore, except one thing. She needed answers, and Hannah Mitchell had them. Victoria stormed into Thomas's office, finding Hannah holding the mysterious music box from the top shelf. Put it down, Victoria ordered. You need to see what's inside. Hannah replied, turning the key. The box opened with a soft click. Inside, alongside old photos, lay a USB drive and a yellowed envelope marked Project Heartbeat Success. Victoria grabbed the envelope. Inside was a photograph that stopped her breath. Thomas stood in a Boston hospital room, arm around a young woman. The date stamp read, 25 years ago. That's my mother, Hannah said quietly. And you already know that's Thomas. Before Victoria could respond, Sophie's scream pierced the air. They rushed to her room to find her convulsing, her heart monitor blaring. She's crashing. Victoria reached for the emergency kit. No. Hannah pushed her aside. That won't work. Not for this. Hannah pulled out a small vial of golden liquid, identical to the one from the music box. With practiced precision, she injected it directly into Sophie's IV line. The effect was immediate. Sophie's body relaxed, her vitals stabilizing at levels better than they'd been in months. How did you? Victoria started. Because Thomas taught me, Hannah replied. Before he died, Marcus burst into the room. Dr. Reynolds, we have a situation. The Wilsons are here. The Wilsons, Victoria frowned. Thomas's family? They're demanding access to his research. They say they have rights. There's more, Hannah interrupted. Other children at your hospital are showing symptoms similar to Sophie's. It's starting. Victoria's phone rang. The hospital bored again. More children had been admitted with mysterious cardiac symptoms, and someone had accessed the secure servers using Thomas's old login. It wasn't me, Hannah said before Victoria could ask. But I know who it was, the same people who killed Thomas. The room went silent. Killed? Victoria whispered. The plane crash was an accident. Nothing about Thomas's death was accidental. Marcus stepped forward, because I'm the one who was supposed to protect him. Hannah turned sharply. You knew? I knew everything. Marcus pulled out his badge. Not hospital security, but FBI. Including who you really are, Hannah. Or should I say daughter? Victoria sank into a chair. What? Hannah is my biological daughter, Marcus said. And Thomas knew. He took her into the program to protect her. Program? Victoria's head spun. What program? Project Heartbeat, Hannah explained. A genetic research program Thomas started in Boston. Children with special cardiac conditions. Children like me, like Sophie. A notification popped up on Victoria's phone. Security footage from the hospital. Children in the cardiac ward were displaying impossible recovery rates. Thomas found something, Hannah continued. A genetic marker that could revolutionize cardiac treatment, but someone wanted to suppress it. The pharmaceutical companies, Marcus added. Curing heart disease would cost them billions. Sophie stirred in her bed. Mom, I had another dream about Daddy. What did he say, sweetie? He said to trust the angel. Sophie pointed at Hannah, just like her. Victoria looked at the photo again. The woman with Thomas, Hannah's mother, wore a necklace with a small angel pendant. The same necklace Hannah wore now. Another alert, more classified files accessed. More children showing strange symptoms. More of Thomas's research surfacing. We need to move fast, Hannah said. They'll come for Sophie next. Who will? The same people who killed Thomas, the ones who've been watching this whole time. As if on cue, the power went out, the security cameras went dark, and somewhere in the distance, sirens began to wail. Victoria clutched her pregnancy test results in her pocket, one secret at a time. Right now, she needed to focus on the truth about Thomas, about Hannah, about everything. Tell me everything, she commanded. From the beginning. Hannah glanced at Marcus, who nodded. It started in Boston, Hannah began, with a miracle that wasn't supposed to exist, me. My mother was the first success, Hannah explained as emergency generators hummed to life. She had a fatal heart condition, but Thomas's treatment saved her. And me. Then why isn't she here? Because they killed her too. Hannah's voice hardened. Right after I was born. That's when Marcus took me into hiding, and Thomas started the official program. A crash downstairs interrupted them. Marcus drew his weapon. Security breach. We need to move. They rushed Sophie into the panic room Thomas had built, equipped with medical supplies and backup power. Victoria, Marcus said urgently, there's something else. Your condition. Victoria's hand went to her stomach. How did you? Because it's the same one Sophie has, the same one Hannah's mother had. He looked at Hannah. Show her. Hannah rolled up her sleeve, revealing a familiar pattern of veins beneath her skin, identical to Sophie's. It's genetic, Hannah explained, but not natural. Thomas engineered it. Engineered what? A cure, not just for heart disease, for death itself. Cellular regeneration, perfect healing. Hannah touched Sophie's hand. That's why Sophie's still alive. Why you're able to carry a child at your age. Thomas altered your DNA the same way he altered mine. Victoria stumbled back. Without telling me? To protect you, Marcus interjected. The less you knew, the safer you were. A notification lit up Victoria's phone. Her hospital privileges had been revoked. The board had suspended her. They're making their move, Hannah said. Just like with Thomas. Who are they? Global Farm. Marcus checked the security feeds. Biggest pharmaceutical company in the world. They've been watching Project Heartbeat for years. Dad's research would destroy them, Hannah added. Who'd buy heart medication if people could heal themselves? Sophie suddenly gasped, clutching her chest. Her heart monitor spiked. She's rejecting the treatment, Hannah said, pulling out another vial. Her body's fighting it. Wait, Victoria grabbed her hand. If what you're saying is true, this could kill her. If we don't, she'll die anyway. Trust me. Those eyes, Thomas's eyes, stared back at her. Victoria nodded. The injection was quick. Sophie's vitals stabilized, but Hannah suddenly collapsed. "It's taking my strength," she whispered. "Every time I help her, it weakens me. That's the price." Price of what? Being the source. My blood carries the pure strain. Everyone else's is diluted. She looked at Victoria. "Including yours." Another alert. Someone accessing the mansion's gates. Security footage showed men in black SUVs. Global Farm's cleanup crew, Marcus said grimly. Same team that sabotaged Thomas's plane. Victoria's world spun. Everything she'd believed about Thomas's death, about Sophie's condition, about her own pregnancy, all lies. "There's more," Hannah said weakly. "I have a twin sister. They separated us at birth. She works for them now." "A twin?" "They wanted to study us. Nature versus nurture. She got the same gifts, but they twisted her." "Used her," Sophie stirred. "Hannah's angels are fighting." "What angels, sweetie?" "In her blood. Daddy called them angels. They're in me too now, and in you, Mommy." A window shattered downstairs. Footsteps approached. "We need to get to the hospital," Hannah said urgently. "Thomas left something in the secure lab. The final piece." "You mean this?" Marcus pulled out a small key. "Thomas gave it to me the day before he died." Victoria stared at her daughter, at Hannah, at her own reflection in the security monitor. 3 generations of Thomas's work, all in one room. "If we do this," she said, "there's no going back." "Mom," Sophie whispered, "sometimes angels need to fight." The footsteps grew closer. Hannah's hand gripped Victoria's. "Your daughter's right," Hannah said. "It's time to fight back." The door to the panic room began to shake. "We have 30 days, Hannah announced as they rushed through the hospital's underground tunnel. "That's how long Sophie has before her heart fails completely." Victoria clutched Sophie's hand tighter. "Why 30 days?" "The treatment creates a dependency. Without regular doses of my blood, the healing factor breaks down." Hannah checked her watch. "And I can only donate so much before it kills me." Marcus led them through a service entrance, his FBI badge getting them past security. The hospital halls were chaos. More children had been admitted with mysterious heart conditions. "It's spreading," Hannah explained. "The marker in Sophie's blood is activating similar genetic patterns in other children. Thomas predicted this." They reached the secure lab. Inside, more surprises waited. Every child's test results showed the same impossible pattern: cellular regeneration followed by rapid deterioration. "Dr. Reynolds," a nurse rushed in. "We need you in ICU. The Wilson boy, his heart just healed itself, then failed again." Victoria's phone buzzed. Test results from her own blood work. "The same pattern." "You're getting weaker too," Hannah observed. "The pregnancy is accelerating it." A commotion outside drew their attention. Through the window, they saw a woman who looked exactly like Hannah walking into the hospital. "Sarah," Hannah whispered. "My sister." "Dr. Reynolds?" Sarah's voice came through the intercom. "We need to talk about Project Heartbeat, and about what really happened to Thomas." Marcus raised his gun. "She's not alone. Global Farm agents are everywhere." "Mom?" Sophie's voice was weak. "I can't feel my legs." Hannah immediately pulled out a syringe. "She needs another dose." "Wait," Victoria grabbed her arm. "You said it weakens you. How many more doses can you give?" 3, maybe 4. Then, Hannah left the sentence unfinished. The door burst open. Sarah entered, hands raised. "You're killing yourself, sister. There's a better way." "By working with them? The people who murdered our parents?" "By completing what Thomas started." Sarah pulled out a tablet. "Look." The screen showed a revolutionary DNA sequence. Thomas's final work. "The cure," Sarah explained. "Not just treatment. Real healing. But it needs both of us. Twins. Perfect genetic match." Marcus stepped forward. "Why should we trust you?" "Because I just killed 2 Global Farm agents to get here. Because I'm tired of being their lab rat. And because," she looked at Sophie, "I won't let another child die." Alarms blared. More children were crashing. "We're out of time," Hannah said. "Sophie needs the dose now." Victoria looked at her daughter, then at the twins. "Do it." Hannah injected Sophie, then immediately collapsed. Sarah caught her. "That's your last donation," Sarah warned. "One more will kill you." Security footage showed Global Farm teams entering the hospital. "The lab in Boston," Sarah said urgently. "Thomas left everything there. Research, equipment, backup samples. We need to go now." "It's a trap," Marcus warned. "No," Sophie spoke up. "She's telling the truth. I can feel it, like I felt Hannah's truth." Victoria's medical training warred with her maternal instincts. Trust science or trust her daughter's impossible insight? "Mom," Sophie whispered, "remember what Daddy said about angels?" Victoria remembered Thomas's last words again. "Look for the angel." "We'll take my private jet," Victoria decided. But first, she turned to the hospital security system, broadcasting to every screen. Time to expose everything. With a click, she released Thomas's full research files to the public. No turning back now. "You have 20 minutes before Global Farm's servers crash that upload," Sarah warned. "Then we better run," Hannah said, struggling to stand. As they rushed toward the exit, Victoria noticed Hannah getting weaker with each step. The price of saving Sophie was killing her. Just like it had killed Thomas. Just like it might kill them all. But sometimes Victoria realized the biggest risks came with the biggest rewards. Thomas had believed that. Now it was her turn to believe. "Boston," she said, "and this time we finish what Thomas started." Victoria's private jet cut through the night sky toward Boston. In the cabin, Hannah lay unconscious, her vital signs weakening. Sarah monitored her sister's pulse while explaining everything. Global Farm didn't just want to stop Project Heartbeat, they wanted to control it. That's why they separated us at birth. 2 test subjects, 2 different approaches. Sophie sat next to Hannah, holding her hand. "She feels cold, Mom." "Her body's shutting down," Sarah explained. "The healing factor in her blood, it's like a battery, and she's running out of power." Marcus checked his phone. "The research files are trending worldwide. Global Farm's stock is crashing." "But they're not finished," Sarah warned. "They have teams heading to Boston too, the same people who killed our mother." Victoria touched her stomach, feeling the flutter of her unborn child. "And Thomas? Did he know about all of this?" Sarah pulled out a worn journal. He documented everything. The experiments, the successes, the failures. He knew they would kill him eventually. The journal's pages revealed Thomas's desperate race against time. Notes about the twins, about genetic markers, about Sophie's unique response to the treatment. "Look at this entry," Sarah pointed. "The day before he died." Thomas's handwriting was shaky. "V, if you're reading this, I'm sorry, I had to protect you all. The answers are in the angels. Trust H, trust S, they're the key." Hannah stirred, her eyes opening. "He left something else in the old lab." "What?" Victoria leaned closer. "A cure, not just treatment, real healing, but it needs both of us." Hannah reached for her sister's hand. "Twins, perfect match. And it could kill you both," Marcus interjected. "We're dying anyway," Sarah said quietly, "at least this way." The plane's radio crackled. Boston Tower warning of severe weather. "No landings permitted." "Not weather," Marcus checked the radar. "They're blocking air traffic, trying to force us down." Victoria's phone lit up with news alerts, more children showing symptoms worldwide. The genetic marker was spreading faster than anyone predicted. "Mom?" Sophie's voice shook. "I can see them now, the angels, like bright lights under everyone's skin." Sarah stared at the girl. "She's evolved further than any of us. She can actually see the genetic changes." "Thomas's last gift," Hannah whispered. "He knew she would be the bridge." Suddenly, engine alarms blared. The plane lurched. "They're jamming our systems," the pilot called out. "We need to land now." Victoria looked at her daughter, at the twins, at Marcus. One chance to finish what Thomas started. One chance to save not just Sophie, but thousands of children. "There." Sarah pointed to an old airstrip. The original Project Heartbeat facility, underground labs, Thomas's real research center. "It's suicide," Marcus warned. "They'll be waiting." "No," Sophie said with strange certainty. "Daddy's waiting. I can feel it." The plane descended through the storm, artificial or not. Hannah and Sarah joined hands, their identical faces set with determination. "Whatever happens," Hannah said to Victoria, "thank you for trusting me. Thank you for saving my daughter." The landing gear hit concrete. Ahead, the old facility loomed. And Sarah was right. They weren't alone. But neither were their enemies. Through the plane's windows, they saw people emerging from the surrounding buildings. Dozens of them. Parents with children showing the same genetic markers. Doctors who'd worked with Thomas, security personnel who'd quit Global Farm. Thomas's real legacy, Sarah smiled. Not just the science. The people he saved. The lives he changed. "The army he built," Hannah added. Victoria squared her shoulders. Time to be not just a doctor, not just a mother, but a leader. Let's finish this, she said, for Thomas, for Sophie, for all of them. The plane door opened to destiny. The underground facility hummed with old machinery coming back to life. Victoria watched as Sarah and Hannah activated Thomas's original equipment, their movements perfectly synchronized. The cure requires both of us, Sarah explained, preparing injection sites on their arms. Our combined DNA processed through Thomas's final protocol. But there's a catch, Hannah added. The process will drain us completely. No coming back. Victoria checked Sophie's vitals, dropping again. How long? Minutes to prepare the cure. Hours to process it, days to replicate it. Sarah's fingers flew over the controls. We don't have that kind of time. Footsteps echoed through the corridors. Marcus's radio crackled with reports of global farm forces surrounding the building. They're here, he warned. Sophie suddenly grabbed Victoria's arm. Mom, something's wrong. Your heart. A sharp pain shot through Victoria's chest. The pregnancy was accelerating her condition, just as Hannah had warned. Both of you need the cure now, Hannah said, watching Victoria stumble. But we only have enough energy for one treatment. The facility's security monitors showed global farm teams breaching the outer doors. Among them walked a familiar face, the hospital board director. They're not just here to stop us, Sarah revealed. They want Sophie. Her evolved strain is what they've been trying to create for years. Victoria's phone buzzed with worldwide reports. Children with the genetic marker were being rounded up, taken to special facilities for treatment. Thomas knew this would happen. Hannah pulled out his final journal entry. That's why he triggered the marker spread. Too many cases for them to contain, too many witnesses. Another pain dropped Victoria to her knees. Sophie rushed to her mother, their matching heartbeats racing. Mom! Sophie pressed her small hand to Victoria's chest. Suddenly, a soft glow emerged where they touched. She's sharing her strength, Sarah gasped. Just like we can. But it's killing her, Hannah warned. Sophie, stop! The door blast open. Global farm forces poured in, weapons raised. The hospital director stepped forward. Remarkable, he said, watching Sophie's glowing hand. The perfect synthesis. Better than either of the twins. Don't touch her, Victoria growled. We're not the villains, Dr. Reynolds. Think of the possibilities. Controlled healing, regulated distribution, profit that could fund generations of research. Profit that would let you decide who lives and dies, Hannah shot back. Sarah had quietly finished the final preparations. The cure hummed in its chamber, glowing like liquid gold. It's ready, she whispered to her sister. The director noticed too. Enough for one dose? Perfect. The girl comes with us, and we'll let you complete the treatment for Victoria. Never. Victoria stood, despite the pain. Mom, Sophie's voice was eerily calm. I know what to do. Daddy showed me in my dreams. Before anyone could react, Sophie ran to the cure chamber, her small hands pressed against the glass. Sophie, no. Victoria lunged forward, but it was too late. Light flooded the room as Sophie somehow connected with the cure, her body becoming a conduit between the twins and everyone else. The bridge, Hannah whispered. She's not just receiving the cure, she's amplifying it. Sarah finished, transmitting it through the same network that spread the marker. The director screamed orders to stop her, but his men were frozen, watching their own hands begin to glow. Victoria felt the pain in her chest dissolve. Around the world, their phones showed reports of miraculous recoveries, but Sophie was fading. The power transfer is too much. Hannah rushed to the girl. Then help me share the load. Sarah joined her sister. The twins clasped hands around Sophie, forming a circle with Victoria. Their combined energy flowed, balanced, healed. The director reached for his weapon, but Marcus was faster. Within minutes, the global farm teams were secured. Mom? Sophie's voice was strong again. Look. The cure had stabilized in all of them. The twins were weak but alive. Victoria's pregnancy was safe, and Sophie? Sophie was finally, truly healthy. But outside, sirens wailed. More forces were coming. This isn't over, Marcus warned. No, Victoria agreed, helping the twins up. Now we have to make sure they can never control this again. The real fight was just beginning. Send it everywhere, Victoria commanded, her fingers flying over Thomas's old computer system. Every hospital, every news outlet, every medical database. Sarah and Hannah worked at terminals on either side of her, releasing the complete Project Heartbeat data worldwide. No more secrets. No more control. Global Farm's legal team is already moving, Marcus reported, watching his phone, trying to claim patent rights. They can't patent what's already in thousands of bloodstreams, Sarah countered. Look. The monitors showed footage from hospitals worldwide. Children with heart conditions were healing spontaneously. The cure had spread through the same network as the original marker, just as Thomas had planned. Mom, Sophie called from her computer. These files? There's videos of Dad. They gathered around the screen. Thomas's face filled the display, recording his final message. If you're watching this, the cure has been released. Victoria, I'm sorry I couldn't tell you everything. Hannah, Sarah, I'm sorry I couldn't protect you better. But Sophie, he smiled. Sophie, you did exactly what I knew you would. You became the bridge. The next wave is starting, Hannah announced, checking medical feeds. Adults with the marker are beginning to show changes. Victoria felt it in her own body, strength returning, the pregnancy stabilizing. Her phone buzzed constantly with messages from her hospital. More miracles, more healing. They're coming, Marcus warned, watching security feeds. Not just Global Farm. Government agencies, military. Let them come, Victoria stood. The truth is already out there. The facility's doors burst open, but instead of soldiers, parents rushed in. Parents with children who'd been dying yesterday and were playing today. Doctors who'd watched terminal patients walk out of hospitals. Nurses recording impossible recoveries. Dr. Reynolds, a reporter pushed forward. Is it true? Has a cure for heart disease really been found? Victoria looked at her daughter, at the twins, at Thomas's image still frozen on the screen. Time for the whole truth. Project Heartbeat wasn't just about curing heart disease, she began. It was about changing how we think about healing itself. My husband, Dr. Thomas Reynolds, discovered something revolutionary. Our body's natural ability to heal can be awakened, enhanced, and shared. More cameras appeared. More questions flew. Are you saying this cure is natural? How did it spread so fast? What happens now? Hannah stepped forward. Now we do what my father always intended. We make sure this cure reaches everyone who needs it. Not just the rich, not just the powerful. Everyone. And we honor those who sacrificed to make it possible, Sarah added. Our mother, Thomas, all the children who were part of the program. Sophie tugged Victoria's hand. Mom, look. Through the facility's windows, they could see people gathering. Hundreds, then thousands, all showing the same gentle glow beneath their skin, all connected by Thomas's final gift. Victoria's hospital board appeared on screen, announcing her immediate reinstatement as chief of surgery. But she had bigger plans now. The Heartbeat Foundation, she announced to the cameras. A global network of research and treatment centers. Free access, complete transparency, no more secrets. They'll try to stop us, Marcus cautioned. They can try, Hannah smiled. But you can't stop the truth once it's been released, just like you can't stop healing once it's begun. Sarah checked the latest data. The cure has reached every continent. It's evolving, adapting, just like Thomas predicted. And the children? A mother called out. Will they be okay? Sophie stepped forward, her small voice carrying clearly, We're better than okay. We're what comes next. Victoria felt her unborn child move, strong and healthy. Around her, Hannah and Sarah supported each other, finally united. Marcus stood guard, but now he was protecting hope instead of secrets. Thomas knew. Victoria said softly, he knew it would take all of us, the twins, Sophie, everyone, to make this work, to make it right. The world was changing. Healing, beginning again. And this time, no one could stop it. 1 year later, Victoria stood in the newly renovated wing of the Heartbeat Foundation's main center, formerly the Reynolds Mansion. The halls that once held security cameras now displayed children's artwork. Where fear once ruled, hope flourished. Dr. Reynolds, her assistant, called. They're ready for you in the pediatric ward. Sophie led the morning session with other gifted children, teaching them to control their enhanced abilities. At 9 years old, she'd become their natural leader. Remember, Sophie told her group, the glow isn't just light, it's connection. Just like my dad discovered. Hannah entered, pushing a wheelchair carrying a new patient. Another success story, waiting to happen. She smiled. Sarah's already processed the initial treatment. The twins had transformed the mansion's east wing into a state-of-the-art research facility. Working together, they'd refined the cure into a stable, transmissible form. Latest numbers are in, Sarah announced, joining them. Over 5 million cases treated worldwide, 0 failures. Victoria's phone buzzed with a notification from the Nobel Committee. The ceremony was next week. Thomas's work, their work, would finally receive its highest recognition. "Mom," Sophie called out, "look what we can do now." The children joined hands, forming a circle. Their combined energy created patterns of light that danced across the room. Not just beautiful, therapeutic. Patients watching from their beds showed immediate improvement in their vital signs. "They're evolving faster than we expected," Hannah observed. "Each generation stronger than the last." Marcus appeared at the door. "Victoria, Global Farm's CEO is here." The man who'd once tried to suppress their work now stood humbled, asking to convert his facilities into Heartbeat Foundation centers. "Your terms," he asked Victoria. "Complete transparency, free treatment for anyone who needs it, and all research public domain. You'll bankrupt us." "No," Victoria touched her growing belly, where twin girls kicked strongly. "We'll help you heal too." Reports flowed in hourly. Hospitals worldwide adopting the Heartbeat protocol. Medical schools updating curricula. Pharmaceutical companies restructuring to support rather than suppress natural healing. Dr. Reynolds, a young reporter, approached. "How does it feel, changing medical history?" Victoria watched Sophie working with her young patients, watched Hannah and Sarah coordinating with doctors globally, watched Marcus training new security teams to protect rather than hide. "This isn't just medical history," she replied. "This is human evolution. Thomas saw it coming. That's why they tried to stop him. But he knew." Knew what? That love spreads faster than fear. That healing, once started, can't be stopped. Sophie's voice carried from the treatment room. "Everyone close your eyes, feel the connection. Just like Daddy taught us in our dreams." Victoria smiled at the reporter. "Thomas isn't gone. He's in every person we heal. Every child who glows. Every heart that beats stronger." Her phone buzzed again. More centers opening. More children manifesting abilities. More barriers falling. "Mrs. Peterson is here," her assistant announced. The former nanny who'd once threatened them now brought cookies for the children and tears of apology for her past actions. "I was afraid," she admitted. "Now I understand." The mansion, now the foundation's headquarters, hummed with energy. Not just electricity, but the combined power of thousands of healing hearts. Sarah checked the latest data. The twins' DNA patterns are appearing spontaneously in newborns worldwide. "Evolution," Hannah nodded. "Just like Thomas predicted, humanity healing itself." Victoria felt her unborn daughters move. They too would be part of this new world. This new beginning. "Mom," Sophie called. "Tell them about the angels." Victoria joined her daughter's circle of young healers. "Your father," she began, "saw angels in our DNA, in our potential to heal, to grow, to connect. He gave his life to wake them up. And now," a child asked, "now they're awake, in all of us, forever." Outside, the sun set on a changed world. A healed world. Thomas's world. Stockholm gleamed with winter sunlight as Victoria approached the Nobel podium. In the audience, Sophie sat between Hannah and Sarah, her small hand clutching Thomas's old journal. "The discovery we honor today," the committee chairman announced, "has fundamentally changed human medicine. But first, we remember the man who started it all. Dr. Thomas Reynolds." Victoria unfolded her speech but set it aside. The real story needed to be told. "My husband saw what others missed," she began. "Not just the science of healing, but its heart. He knew the cure wouldn't come from a lab, but from love." The massive screens behind her showed real-time footage from heartbeat centers worldwide. Children teaching others to heal. Former Global Farm scientists working alongside natural healers. Sarah and Hannah's refined protocols spreading globally. "Today we announce the next phase," Victoria continued. "Sophie?" Her daughter walked to the podium. At 9 years old, she just completed her first solo healing, a terminal patient now playing with his children again. "The angels in our DNA," Sophie spoke clearly, "they're not just for healing hearts anymore. Watch." She raised her hands. Around the auditorium, people gasped as their own hands began to glow. Not the medical treatment glow, something new. "Cell regeneration has evolved," Hannah explained, joining them. "It's not just cardiac tissue now, it's everything." Sarah added her own data. Spontaneous healing reported in cancer patients, Alzheimer's reversing, aging itself slowing. The audience erupted in questions. Victoria raised her hand for quiet. Thomas knew this would happen. Each generation of healers would grow stronger. Each child would carry the gift further. That's why they killed him, not to stop a cure, but to stop evolution itself. Screens showed the former Global Farm board in custody confessing to Thomas's murder, but also showing remorse, asking to help make amends. And that's what Thomas wanted most. Victoria touched her now prominent pregnancy. Not vengeance, healing, even for those who hurt him. Sophie demonstrated the new healing technique to the audience. Around the world, other children followed her lead. The network Thomas created pulsed with new energy. "Mom," Sophie whispered suddenly, "Daddy's here." The lights dimmed. On the giant screen, Thomas's final video played, not the public one, but a private message found in the Boston lab. "If you're seeing this," he said, "then everything worked. The cure spread. The children evolved, and most importantly, love won. Victoria, my heart, you finished what I couldn't. Hannah, Sarah, my first miracles, you became more than I dreamed. And Sophie," he paused, smiling that familiar smile. "Sophie, my bridge to the future, you showed them all how to fly." The video ended. In the silence, Sophie raised her hands again. This time, the glow formed patterns, complex DNA strands dancing in light. "The next protocol," Hannah announced. "Written in Sophie's DNA by Thomas himself, the final gift." Sarah checked her tablet. "It's transmitting worldwide, faster than the first cure." Victoria felt her twins move, future healers already connected to the network. Around the globe, children like Sophie woke to new abilities. Adults found their healing powers growing. The wall between science and spirit crumbled. "The Nobel Prize," Victoria addressed the committee, "belongs to every child who glows, every heart that beats in the network, every person who chose healing over fear." She placed the medal on Sophie's neck. "This belongs to the future." The audience rose, glowing as one. Screens showed the same light spreading across continents. Evolution, just as Thomas planned. But in the back of the hall, a door opened. A figure watched from shadows. "Mom," Sophie whispered, "there's more." The final phase was about to begin. The figure in the shadows stepped forward, a young man glowing brighter than anyone they'd seen before. "I'm Adam," he said. "Another of Thomas's children. There are more of us." The Nobel audience watched as others emerged, 20 children from Project Heartbeat's earliest days, all grown now, all carrying Thomas's original genetic markers. "We've been watching," Adam explained, "waiting until the world was ready, until Sophie showed us it was time." Victoria felt her twins move, responding to the new energy in the room. Hannah and Sarah stepped forward, recognizing their own enhanced DNA patterns in the newcomers. "Thomas didn't just plan for a cure," Adam continued. "He planned for the next step in human evolution. But it had to come from choice, not force. From love, not power." Sophie walked to him, taking his hand. Their combined glow filled the hall. "Show them," she said. Adam nodded. The grown Heartbeat children formed a circle. Their combined energy created something new, not just healing, but transformation. "Complete cellular regeneration," Hannah gasped, checking readings. "They're not just healing damage, they're upgrading DNA itself." Sarah's monitors showed the effect spreading through the global network. "It's offering everyone a choice, evolve or stay as they are. No force, no pressure, just possibility." Victoria understood finally. Thomas hadn't just created a medical breakthrough. He'd opened a door for humanity itself. Back at the Foundation headquarters, now a global command center, the changes accelerated. The mansion that once held secrets now shared light with the world. "Look at the numbers," Marcus reported. "Billions connecting to the network, but only those who choose to. Perfect free will, just as Thomas designed." Victoria's phone filled with messages from world leaders, scientists, religious figures, all recognizing the magnitude of what was happening. Not an ending, but a beginning. Sophie worked with the new arrivals, teaching younger children while learning from the older ones. The hierarchy of age dissolved as each person's gifts emerged uniquely. "Mom," she called out, "it's time for your choice." Victoria touched her pregnant belly, feeling her twins' energy align with the network. "I choose evolution," she said. "I choose the future Thomas saw." The transformation swept through her, not erasing who she was, but fulfilling who she could become. Around the world, others made the same choice, each in their own time, their own way. Hannah and Sarah coordinated the global transition. Heartbeat centers evolved into transformation hubs. The medical knowledge Thomas died protecting became a gateway to human potential. But what about those who don't want to change? A reporter asked. They don't have to, Victoria explained. That's what makes this real evolution. Free choice. Some will stay as they are. Others will transform. All will be respected. Adam shared more of Thomas's vision. He saw a future where humanity could heal itself, grow beyond limits, but never lose its heart, where technology and spirit merged, where love became the force for change. The former Global Farm executives, now reformed, offered their resources to support the transition. Fear gave way to hope, competition to cooperation. In the mansion's garden, now a healing park open to all, Sophie gathered with other children. Their combined energy created displays of light that taught as well as healed. The next generation wouldn't need instructions. They were born knowing their gifts. Victoria's twins arrived during the first global synchronization, millions choosing evolution together. She named them Faith and Hope, knowing they'd help lead the next phase. Thomas would be proud, Hannah said, watching the newborns glow. He is proud, Sophie corrected. He's part of the network now, part of all of us. The mansion's security cameras, once tools of fear, now recorded history for future generations. They showed humanity choosing love over fear, growth over stagnation, unity over division. Adam worked with Sophie to establish education centers worldwide, not just for healing, but for understanding the responsibilities of evolution. This isn't the end, Victoria told the world's press. It's the first step. Thomas knew humanity needed to heal its hearts before it could heal its future. The Nobel Prize became a symbol, not just of scientific achievement, but of human potential. The medal hung in the foundation's main hall beneath Thomas's photo, inspiring visitors from around the world. Sarah's final data confirmed it. Humanity had reached a turning point, not through force or fear, but through choice and love. In the end, Victoria understood Thomas's deepest truth. The real evolution wasn't in their DNA, but in their capacity to love. The glow wasn't just energy, but connection. The healing wasn't just physical, but spiritual. Sophie, now recognized as the bridge between old and new humanity, summed it up for a group of children. The angels in our DNA were always there. We just had to wake them up, and we had to wake them up together. The mansion's gates stayed open, welcoming all who sought transformation. The security desk where Marcus once guarded secrets now shared wisdom. The labs where Thomas worked in isolation became spaces of communal discovery. Victoria's last act was to remove all the mansion's security cameras. They didn't need watching anymore. The light inside each person was guide enough. "Mom," Sophie said on that final day, "we did it. We finished Daddy's work." Victoria hugged her daughter, feeling the network pulse with billions of heartbeats. "No, sweetheart, we just began it." And somewhere in the vast network of light and love that connected them all, Thomas smiled. His greatest experiment had succeeded. Humanity had chosen to heal itself. The true evolution, the evolution of the heart, was finally underway. Years passed, but the light never dimmed. Victoria's twins grew into young women, each developing unique abilities that even Thomas hadn't predicted. Faith could heal emotional trauma with a touch, while Hope could see potential futures in the network's glow. On Sophie's 16th birthday, she gathered all of Thomas's children, now numbering in the hundreds, for a special announcement. The network had shown her something new. Worlds beyond Earth were calling. The evolution wasn't just for us, she explained to the gathered crowd. It was preparation. There's so much more out there. Adam and the original Project Heartbeat children confirmed it. Their enhanced DNA contained patterns that matched signals from space, signals that only evolved humans could detect. Thomas knew, Hannah revealed, sharing newly decoded portions of his research. He saw that humanity would need to heal itself before it could reach the stars. Sarah's latest studies showed the evolutionary changes had stabilized. Those who chose transformation passed the gift to their children, while those who remained unchanged lived in harmony with their evolved neighbors. Free will remained paramount. The mansion, now more university than hospital, opened departments for space research. Humanity's next great adventure would be led by those who had learned to heal not just bodies, but spirits. Victoria, her hair now silver, but her eyes still bright with Thomas's vision. Watched her expanded family prepare for challenges he had foreseen decades ago. The twins worked with Sophie to establish protocols for space exploration. Adam led research into interstellar communication through the network. Global Farm, completely transformed, became Earth's leading developer of space habitation technology. The same companies that once suppressed evolution now enabled humanity's expansion to the stars. Remember, Victoria told each graduating class of healers, "The light inside us isn't just for Earth. It's a beacon for all life, everywhere." The security cameras that once watched the mansion with suspicion were replaced by telescopes watching the stars with hope. Marcus trained a new generation of protectors, whose mission was to guard humanity's potential, not its fears. In the garden where Thomas once walked alone with his dreams, children from around the world learned to connect their light to the cosmos. The network that began in a single father's love now reached toward distant suns. On quiet nights, Sophie still spoke with Thomas through the network. He showed her visions of humanity's future, not just healed, but transformed. Not just evolved, but transcendent. "This was your real gift, wasn't it, Daddy?" she asked the stars. Not just the healing, not just the evolution, but the dream of something more. The light that glowed beneath their skin was humanity's answer to the universe's oldest question: are we ready? Are we worthy? The answer shone in every transformed heart, every healed soul, every child born glowing with possibility. We are ready. We are worthy. We are love evolved. And somewhere in the vast network of light that now reached from Earth to the stars, Thomas's dream continued to grow. His legacy wasn't just in their DNA, it was in their destiny. The true American dream, Victoria realized, wasn't just about individual success. It was about lifting all of humanity toward its highest potential, together, by choice, through love. The mansion's gates remained open, but now they opened not just to Earth, but to the infinite possibilities beyond. The security desk where fear once ruled became a beacon of hope for a species ready to take its next great leap. The evolution Thomas began would continue forever, guided by the greatest force in any universe: a father's love for his children, a mother's hope for their future, and humanity's endless capacity to transform darkness into light. The end was just the beginning.